What is going on, guys? It's Modded Warfare here. Welcome back to another PS4 and PS5 jailbreak news update. So in this one, we have a new WebKit exploit that has been disclosed that appears to affect the PS4 and PS5. Now, we don't have a full implementation of a WebKit exploit on the PS4 or PS5 yet, so this is still just testing to see if the vulnerability works on various different firmwares, which so far it seems to work all the way up to firmware version 10.01 on the PS4, and on the PS5 the jury seems to still be out on that, but I've definitely tested it on up to 6.02 firmware and it is working on 6.02. The browser is vulnerable on 6.02 on the PS5 and 10.01 on the PS4. It may also be vulnerable on the latest firmware on the PS5, which I think is 6.50 right now, although since that firmware is very recent, it's possible it may have been patched, but I haven't had full confirmation on that yet. So still early days. This was only really discovered, I think, about a day ago. So anyway, if you want to test it on your own system to add to the pool of firmwares that are potentially vulnerable to this exploit, then all you need to do is head on to this site right here. This is the one I would recommend going to because a lot of people are using this IP address, and when I tried it here, the server is pretty spotty. It seems to be getting hit quite a lot by a lot of people jumping on this address trying to run the exploit, and then they're getting, timeout errors and then thinking that the exploit or that the vulnerability doesn't work on their firmware, when actual fact it's just that the server's getting, strained with all the people going on there and it's timing out. So if you want to actually get a more accurate result, then this seems to be a better one to go to right now by Master S9, master-s.github.io/ps5m/meme.html. So as you can see here, tried it on my 9.00 PS4 just to test. So if you get one appearing in the top left hand corner, then that basically means that the vulnerability exists in the browser on that firmware version. So it is vulnerable. And if you just get, a white screen or nothing shows up, then that generally means it's not vulnerable. If you get timeout issues, though, again, it could just be the server. So just refresh and try again, or try another site that's hosting the vulnerability to see if it works. So yeah, I would definitely recommend trying that. As you can see here, PS4 9.00 works just fine. And again, on PS5 on 6.02, check the firmware there. You can see I'm on 6.02. And then I went ahead and ran that same site there on the PS5 and also got the one in the top left-hand corner. So it appears to be vulnerable on 6.02 as well. So what this generally means at the moment, of course, this is a WebKit exploit. So it's a userland exploit. So if we can assume that this WebKit exploit works on the PS4 and PS5 and can be chained with a kernel exploit like other WebKit exploits have done in the past, then what that potentially means for the future is that we're pretty much halfway there, or we will be about halfway there to getting a jailbreak on the PS4, because you need to have a userland exploit, which is your WebKit exploit like this one right here, and a kernel exploit. And right now, obviously the latest kernel exploit's only 9.00 on the PS4, but because this WebKit exploit works all the way from 9.03 all the way up to 10.01, then if a kernel exploit comes out for any firmware within that range, then it can be chained with this WebKit exploit to get the full jailbreak. So that is good news. Although we have had other userland exploit in the form of the Blu-ray drive exploit for 9.03 for quite a while now, and there still hasn't been any new kernel exploits coming out for the PS4. Although the HackerOne bug bounty program, there has been several reports from people like CTURT. One of those could easily be a kernel exploit, and hopefully it will get disclosed if it is. And then it could be chained with this WebKit exploit to get a full jailbreak. So, keep our fingers crossed that something like that will happen. I know a lot of people think that the PS5, everybody's focusing on the PS5, all the devs, all the exploit developers, they're all working on the PS5 and nobody cares about the PS4 anymore. Now, I don't think that's true, but even if it was true, the simple fact that the PS5 and the PS4 run FreeBSD, even though they're different versions of FreeBSD. So the PS4 uses, I think, FreeBSD 9, and I think PS5 is FreeBSD 12 or 11 or something like that. I think it's FreeBSD 12. But anyway, because they run FreeBSD, if an exploit is discovered in the PS5, it could easily also affect the PS4. And we've seen the same thing happen. I mean, the current kernel exploit that we have for the PS5 for 4.51 and lower also existed in the PS4. It was actually patched in the PS4 before it was patched in the PS5 because for some reason they forgot about that exploit. They forgot to patch it in the PS5, even though they'd already patched it in the PS4. Point is, though, that these vulnerabilities in FreeBSD can easily affect both systems. So if something's discovered in the PS5, it could easily affect the PS4 as well. And then obviously the PS4 is easier to jailbreak because you don't need a hypervisor exploit. So, you know, if something new gets discovered for the PS5, like a new kernel exploit, it could affect the PS4 as well, and then we could get a full jailbreak on the PS4 by combining it with this WebKit exploit that's been discovered right here. So yeah, I wouldn't say all hope is lost for the PS4. There's definitely, you know, a good chance of stuff coming in the near future. So anyway, moving on to PS5 though here. So of course, what this means for PS5 is we have a WebKit exploit now that works all the way up to at least 6.02, maybe even higher. And that's great and all that, but obviously the kernel exploit we have right now for the PS5 only goes up to 4.51, and we don't have a hypervisor exploit, which is that third step that we need in order to jailbreak the PS5. Now, speaking of hypervisor exploits, I do want to make you guys aware of Null Pointer's donation campaign. Anyway, he's trying to get some equipment that's going to allow him to investigate the PS5 hypervisor. If you don't know who Null Pointer is, he's, you know, one of the exploit developers who's been working on exploits for some time for the PS4 and now the PS5. So, you know, this is probably one of our best chances to get closer to getting a PS5 hypervisor exploit. So I'm going to leave his donation links down in the description because he's doing this donation campaign to try and get the equipment that he needs to be able to investigate the PS5 hypervisor. Obviously, this is a donation, so don't go into it. If you are going to donate, bear in mind that you're not paying him for a hypervisor exploit. This is just donations to help him research the hypervisor exploit, which will hopefully net some results, potentially a hypervisor exploit, or even just a better understanding of the PS5 hypervisor, which could lead to more exploits in the future. So yeah, I've gone ahead and donated to this. He has a few different donation links, so this goal is not actually the correct amount because he's had other, you could donate on GitHub, you can donate on other sites. So I'll leave all the donation links down in the video description if you want to support this. I do get some people who get angry sometimes about me, you know, kind of pushing people's donation links and stuff like that. I think this is for a good cause, but again, it's subjective, right? If you don't want to support it, you don't have to. That's the beauty of donations. So anyway, I'm just going to leave it in the description, and if you want to support it, you can. If you don't have to. That's totally fine. It is up to you. So yeah, that's all I've got here for this video. We have research potentially being done on the PS5 hypervisor by Null Pointer, you know, if he can reach this donation goal. And also we have a WebKit exploit that the PS4 and PS5 are vulnerable to, which is always a good sign, especially since it works up to the pretty much latest firmwares on the PS4 and PS5, which is great. So yeah, that's all I've got for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it or found the information useful. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll hopefully see you guys once again in the next video.